What if the ultimate muse wasn't a source of inspiration, but a predator? What if the price for creating a masterpiece was your very soul? This is the harrowing tale of Rohan Kishibe, a brilliant manga artist who ventured into the mountains, chasing a whisper of unparalleled creative energy. He sought the forgotten art colony of Amorit, a place legendary for its reclusive masters and a chilling tale of a perfect muse that promised genius at a terrible cost. Rohan arrived to find a scene of beautiful decay. The colony was silent, swallowed by nature. But inside the crumbling studios, he found a gallery of nightmares. Canvases depicted landscapes that bled into abstract horrors. Sculptures were frozen in silent screams, and portraits stared out with hollow, soulless eyes. The air itself felt thick, buzzing with a desperate, frantic energy, the ghost of 1,000 unfinished ideas. This wasn't a place of quiet contemplation. It was a graveyard of ambition. Drawn deeper into the mystery, Rohan discovered scattered journals left behind by the colony's former artists. Their handwriting grew more erratic with each entry, detailing a strange relationship with a presence. At first, it was a miracle. This entity would guide their hands, whispering divine concepts, making their art come alive. Their skills skyrocketed, their work achieving a new, sublime quality. But the gift came with a price. The journals spoke of a creeping madness. As their art became more brilliant, their minds began to unravel. They described the muse as demanding, whispering for truth, for essence. They wrote of sleepless nights, of their bodies wasting away, of their connection to the world fraying like an old rope. They weren't just creating art. They were being consumed by it. Their passion was a feast for an unseen force, and they were the main course. In the most secluded studio, hidden away from the others, Rohan found it. A single painting on an easel, a portrait so lifelike it seemed to breathe. It was a masterpiece of haunting beauty, but its eyes followed him with an unnerving intelligence. Compelled by an artist's curiosity, Rohan sat down to sketch it. But the moment his charcoal touched the paper, a strange sensation took over. His hand moved with an unnatural precision, his strokes more fluid and perfect than anything he could consciously create. He wasn't drawing. He was being drawn through. He realized with a jolt of terror that the muse wasn't trying to inspire him. It was trying to use him to make his hands its own. This wasn't a spirit. It wasn't a ghost. It was something far older and more sinister. In a hidden chamber behind the portrait, Rohan found a desecrated shrine, adorned with cryptic symbols he'd only seen in ancient, forbidden texts. He finally understood the colony's dark secret. The muse was a parasitic entity, an ancient being that fed on human creativity and life force. It latched onto artists, promising genius, but it was a lie. It possessed them, slowly siphoning their memories, their personality, their very essence, channeling its own dark consciousness into their work. The artists weren't driven to madness. They were hollowed out, erased, until nothing was left but an empty shell. And those stunning, lifelike portraits? They weren't paintings of people. They were the people themselves, their souls trapped within the canvas, the entity's perfect, permanent containers. The beautiful portrait in front of him wasn't just a painting of the last victim. It was the prison of the last victim, and it was now looking for a new cellmate. A cold dread washed over Rohan as he felt his own mind being invaded. His memories, his precious experiences, the very foundation of his identity, started to feel distant, like a book being read by someone else. The entity was probing him, tasting his essence, preparing to absorb him completely. This was the ultimate deadline. He couldn't write his way out of this one. He had to fight with the only tools he had, his intellect, his speed, and his profound understanding of art. The entity's power was tied to the portrait. To save himself, he had to destroy the vessel. It was a race against his own disappearing self. He grabbed his materials, not to create, but to deconstruct. He saw the composition, the flow, the energy lines the parasite was using to channel itself. With frantic, desperate movements, he began to strategically deface the masterpiece. He used turpentine not to thin paint, but to dissolve a soul's prison. He smeared charcoal not to add shadow, but to create a void, a break in the entity's connection. In a final desperate act, he pricked his own finger, using a smear of his own blood, his essence, as a defiant offering, a symbol of his will to live, severing the psychic tether. The room erupted in a silent scream of psychic energy, and the portrait's eyes went blank, its lifelike quality vanishing into simple paint and canvas. Rohan stumbled out of the colony, scarred but alive. He hadn't found the inspiration he was looking for, but he had survived an encounter with the terrifying abyss that can lie beneath the surface of creation. He left with a new, horrifying understanding of the true cost of art. Back in his studio, there was a new page for his manga, a single, unsettling panel that hinted at the nameless horror he'd faced. And as he sketched, his hand trembled ever so slightly, a permanent reminder of the muse that consumes, a shadow that would forever linger in the corner of his eye. Art is life, but sometimes it demands it back. Thanks for watching.